Hey, it's 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. This is our weekly mastermind to help you understand how to grow your real estate business. And what we're talking about today is a source of leads. So when you're first starting out in real estate, you don't have any business until you got some business. And how do you get the business? Well, you need leads. You need people that need to either buy or sell their house. Now, it seems like a lot of new agents will gravitate toward buyers because, maybe that seems a little bit easier. But look, the real money to be made is with sellers. For sale by owner, expired, or just somebody who randomly wants to sell the property. Ultimately, you want listings. You might have heard the expression before, you've got to list to last. So now, where do you find somebody that needs to sell a home? Maybe one of these people that are interested in buying a home, maybe they do also want to sell a home. Okay, there you go. Maybe there's a seller. But now, how do you seek out just a dedicated source of sellers? Because typically, you need to sell your house before you're able to buy another one. You're usually not going to be able to get financing to go buy a house when you still own another house. You could technically, but in most situations for the average homeowner, they need their house sold in order to buy that new house. Now, regardless of how backwards your client might be, you'll typically be able to see in your market a few different sources of seller leads. This could be the for sale by owners, and that's what we're going to really be focusing on today. But it could also be an expired listing, a property that was on the market that never sold. It could be one of these things that you see on Zillow that says, make me move. That's somebody that is at least somewhat motivated, maybe not the most motivated to sell, but at least somewhat motivated to sell their property. So maybe that's a source of leads for you right there. And then, of course, as you start working with clients, the referrals and so on and so forth. But when you're starting from nothing, one of the easiest ways to just see who needs to sell is a for sale by owner. And I just want to cover a couple of the things it is that you should do when you're seeking out business from a for sale by owner, because you maybe have tried this before and maybe you had a bad experience, or maybe you had tried this before and you feel like, oh, this is a waste of my time. So we're going to talk about some of the big mistakes that a lot of agents make when they're trying to convert a for sale by owner. What's going through the for sale by owner's mind, and then ultimately what you have to do to combat the misunderstandings it is that they might have. So that's what we're talking about today, for sale by owners. My name is John Christman. This is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We've got a great show for you today. Lock yourself in. You're watching State of Real Estate. State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Charisma. I'm from the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we're here every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, as well as Wednesdays at 12 noon Eastern Time, as well as every single day that we're putting videos out there to help you learn something about real estate. These videos, they're not going to teach you everything, but they're going to teach you something. You're never going to be able to find one source for all of your information. Learning is a whole lifelong process, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. But look, let's get started today talking about the good old FSBO. So if you ever heard that term FSBO and wonder what's a FSBO, again, it stands for sale by owner. Now, with a FSBO, let's first talk about kind of what's going through this for sale by owner's mind. What it is that they're thinking that makes them say, hey, I don't want to use a realtor. I want to sell my property for sale by owner. So what's going through their head? What are they thinking? So the most obvious answer is that they want to save money. Now, what's important to remember as we talk about these dilemmas or issues or problems or reasons why they don't want to use a real estate professional, because if they wanted to use a real estate professional, they probably would have already used a real estate professional. But there might just be a slight misunderstanding that they have, that if we can overcome that slight little misunderstanding, or you might want to call this an objection to using us, or a complaint about realtors of, oh, if I use a real estate agent, if I hire somebody to sell my house, they're going to charge me a 6 or 7% commission. And I don't want to pay a 6 or 7% commission because that's a lot of money, especially when you factor in a $300,000 property. So average sale price in Hillsborough County, it's somewhere around like $277,000. We'll call it $300,000. What does that come out with? A 6% commission? That comes up with $18,000. So yes, this property is the biggest sale of their life, but right up there, top of that list of other things they're paying an immense amount of money for is real estate brokerage. I mean, $18,000, that's a lot of money. What could you do with an extra $18,000 in your pocket? And this is, again, what they're thinking and why they're thinking they're going to save money by doing it themselves. Now, I don't consider myself a do-it-yourselfer, although there's been a lot of times where I have done it myself. But being a do-it-yourselfer isn't fun, unless you enjoy failing. If you're one of those people that enjoys doing things wrong and having to redo it again and again and again, then maybe you'll enjoy doing things yourself. Because that's what you're doing when you're doing it yourself. You're going to get things wrong, you're going to fail, and eventually you might figure it out. Think of, maybe assembling some piece of furniture. If I tried to count how many times I've tried to put maybe some sort of furniture or something together and how many times I've put a piece on backwards, and you got to go take everything back apart and basically go back to almost to step one, taking everything apart, only have to put it back together all over again because you didn't look carefully enough at those instructions in front of you that said, oh, this piece needs to go this way, not this way. And then all of a sudden you're failing after you start all over again. And when you do it yourself, when you're not a professional, when you're an amateur, that's what's going to happen. You probably could get that table or end table or whatever it is you're putting together, put it together, but it's probably going to take you some trial and error. You might break something in the process, which if it's a little like $100 table from IKEA or something like that, a big deal if you break something. It might still be a big deal because it's just going to contribute to your frustration. But now what if we're going back to that $300,000 sale of the property? Or look, even if it's a $100,000 sale of a property, how much is it going to cost you to mess that up? Now, this obviously is not the phrasing and word tracks you want to use with a potential for sale by owner, because maybe that's your style of selling, that you want to almost scare people into using you. But from my experience, that doesn't quite work. They get offended and you distance yourself apart by arguing, but you've got to understand where it is that they're coming from. So when we do try to agree with them, how we can agree in a way that's ultimately going to help us close the deal. So look, part of this is understanding just what it is that their misconception is, that they're going to save money. Now, why do I call that a misconception? Well, everything I just talked about, because they're not a professional. Rarely, I don't think I've ever come across a for sale by owner that has a real estate license. I've come across people with a real estate license, but they're selling it through the brokerage, with it through the MLS. And even then, even if you have a real estate license, I bet a lot of you guys out there watching this stream, if you've got a real estate license, you probably know there's a lot of things it is that you don't know. Otherwise, you wouldn't be tuning in here. If you're one of the agents that think they know everything, you wouldn't be trying to expand the information it is that you have. So even just having that real estate license, even if they had a real estate license, chances are they still don't know what they're doing. They're still not going to do this. They might have a little bit higher level knowledge, but they're still an amateur. They're not a professional. You're a professional when you do this every day, when this is something that you do consistently. And you might say, well, John, I'm not a professional in for sale by owners. I'm not even a professional in listings. I don't have any listings yet. All right, well, we got to get you there. That's the point. You got to start somewhere. And what's going to help you overcome a lot of the obstacles is the training, having the right training and the right understanding of how to market properties. Look at your brokerage that you're registered with, that you've joined. What type of experience they have. Because you got to remember here, as much as you are, an independent contractor and a business within a business, how can you lean on your brokerage for their experience, for their expertise, for their tools, for their technology, for the things that your brokerage has, even if you've never had a listing before yourself? What benefit do you have from your brokerage? Now, if you're at a brokerage that's never sold a property before, and you yourself has never sold a property before, then you're in kind of a bad position. But when you're not an island, when you've got a brokerage that is supportive to you, that is there to help you, you need to be first confident in yourself, confident that you are the professional, because that is a lesson in and of itself. If you're not confident in your abilities, how is your potential client? How is somebody who already is against using somebody like us, because they might think, oh, what are they going to do that I can't do? And how are they going to have confidence in you when you don't even have confidence in yourself? So you got to have confidence in yourself. You know, I heard a story of Kanye West and somebody going into Kanye West's house, and it walks right into the entranceway, and there's just a big, massive painting of Kanye's face. You walk into his house, first thing you see, big, massive painting of his face. And the guy walking in there asked him and say, hey, don't you think that's a little bit too much to have this big, massive painting of your face right when you walk into your house? And this is one of those Kanye moments. You gotta kind of, take what you can from him, because not everything you might not agree with. But one of the things that's really hit home with me on that is like, hey, if I'm not my biggest fan, how do I expect anybody else to be fans? If I don't believe in myself, how do I expect anybody else to believe in me? And that's such an important lesson, especially when you're in a sales profession, especially when you're trying to get this client to trust you. Now, somebody who's not a for sale by owner, who actually does understand the value of an agent, who will come to you, who are one of those people that raise their hand. Sometimes in your real estate career, you're lucky enough to have somebody that raises their hand and line up and say, hey, I want to do business with you. I understand the value of you. I'm willing to pay you whatever your price is, and I want to use you. Now, when you can get to that point, that's fantastic, but it takes a long time to push yourself up that hill, to be at the top of the mountain where people are lining up saying, hey, I want you to sell my house. Whether they're a for sale by owner, and these are one of the tougher sells, but that's because they don't believe in our abilities. They think that they're going to save money. They might have had, this is another reason, they might have had a bad experience in the past with the previous agent. Because if they're selling their home, obviously they bought it at some point, and probably when they bought it, there was a real estate professional or quote-unquote professional involved in the transaction. So they might have had a bad experience, especially if that professional really wasn't a professional. So they might have had a bad experience previously, and that's maybe why they think they're going to save money. And then what else? What else could be going through this for sale by owner's mind? And this really, probably the saving money is one of the top reasons. But something that goes right along with that saving money is understanding the value. So they think they're going to save money, and that's because they don't understand the value it is that we deliver. They might think, okay, yeah, I'm going to sell my house for $300,000, but $300,000 might be the price that we get them when we put our professionalism, our expertise, our negotiation skills, our marketing skills behind it. But when they do it on their own, they might only end up with $250,000, $240,000, $230,000, $220,000, $200,000. Who knows what it is that they ultimately sell it for? Now, they might list it on Zillow. And yes, Zillow is the #1 website in the world for looking at properties. You mention Zillow to anybody, doesn't matter whether they've even ever thought of buying a house, they know who Zillow is. And that's one of the things that they don't understand the value it is we deliver. They think, oh, well, I don't need a real estate agent. I could just put the property on Zillow myself. What do I need a real estate agent for? Why do I need to pay a real estate agent 6% to put it on Zillow when I could just put it on Zillow myself? Now, look, as much as you guys might be watching this and wanting to argue with me, you're imagining that I'm the client and you're wanting to argue with me about the things it is that I'm saying right now, you're not going to get a deal. You're not going to get agreement through argument. Agreement does not come through argument. Agreement comes through agreement. Sounds pretty straightforward when you say it. It's like, oh yeah, I guess, you have to agree to get to an agreement. Somebody's got to agree. And you arguing with somebody, you've probably had those experiences before when you're arguing with somebody or debating somebody or coming from a different point of view of somebody where you don't agree on the same thing. And especially in 2019, whether it be about politics, whether it be with a client or whatever the case may be, the more you argue with somebody, the more they seem to argue back. Or even if you win. Have you ever had that moment when you win an argument and you're expecting, this great feeling when you win an argument, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, they kind of just laid down and died. My wife is the king of that. Whenever we get into some sort of disagreement, that if I've got the better viewpoint, or I win the argument, she'll just say, "Oh, you know what, you win." And what happens, and this is a great example of what normally happens with people when you're arguing with them and they've got a different perspective, they've got a different viewpoint, and you just come back at them and you're just pulling each other apart. Even if you win, it's usually just because the other person just gave up. The other person just gave up and said, "You know what, you're right, I don't want to argue with you." But do they really believe what it is that you're saying? No. Because if you really want somebody to trust and believe what it is that you're saying, you've got to do that through agreement. You've got to get agreement. Now, how do we agree with them about saving money? Because we just talked about how ultimately when they understand the value of us, that we could ultimately maybe get them that $300,000 that they want instead of the $250,000 or $260,000 they might be able to get on their own. And let's do some quick math on this. Let's do some quick math. So if we do sell it for $300,000, but we take a 6% commission that we end up splitting with the other broker and all the splits and things like that go on. But if we charge $18,000 and we got them $300,000, what does that leave them with? Well, $300,000 minus $18,000 leaves them with $282,000. I mean, of course, there'll be other closing costs that they would normally have anyways, whether they're using us or not, but that would put them at $282,000. Now, if they're able on their own to sell it for more than $282,000, then where are we contributing value? Where are we actually adding the value? And in that case, you don't have any business helping them out, because you can't help them if you can't get them more than $282,000 in their pocket before any other closing cost. But if they can only get $270,000 on their own, even if they get $270,000 versus what we would put in their pocket of $282,000, how much more did we put in their pocket? Well, if they sell it for $270,000 and we sell it for $300,000, but they pay us an $18,000 commission, we put $282,000 in their pocket. But if they can only get $270,000 on their own, are we the better deal? Of course. And now me walking you through this, especially with not putting the numbers on the board like this here, it doesn't really click. It doesn't really hit home. But look, and the reason why I know that you should be able to sell the property for more than the for sale by owner is if you look at National Association of Realtors statistics, and these aren't anomaly statistics, these aren't something that one year there was an anomaly that this statistic came up. These are consistent statistics year after year after year after year. You could pull the reports and you could go all the way back to, I think, like the 80s is as far back as they go, and consistently see how much more a real estate professional is able to get for somebody compared to somebody selling a property on their own for sale by owner. And at the low end, it's 10%. So an agent, a real estate professional, can typically get anywhere from 10 to up to 30% more than a for sale by owner. And if you look at the average numbers, it's about 30% is what the average for sale by owner sells less than to a comparable real estate professional, real estate brokerage listed property. 30%. But let's go on the conservative side. Let's say we could only get them 10% more than they'd be able to get on their own. Well, 10% of $300,000 is $30,000. So my math would say that on their own, they should only be able to get about $270,000 if we're able to get at the minimum, at the most. If we're able to get $300,000, they're probably only going to get about $270,000, maybe $271,000, $272,000, but $270,000 is probably where they're at. So if we, at the minimum, get it sold for that $300,000 compared to their $270,000, we're putting an extra $12,000 in their pocket. Now you might be following me a little bit here, but look, I'm going to give you a word track, a phrase, and this is one of my secret sauces that I've used for years in a multitude of circumstances that really helps understand the value. It helps you understand that you're not saving money selling it on your own, and what value it is that you're ultimately adding to them. So going through that math I just presented. So this question, would you, if I were to give you $30, would you give me $18? If I were to give you $30, you didn't have to pay me a penny until after I gave you that $30, would you then give me $18? You get $30, I'd take 18. We maybe cut the numbers down a little bit more to simplify this down to easier numbers. You might like that one, but this is the whole phrase, this whole word track here that works when you say it confidently, when you say it correctly, when you don't stumble over the numbers. So that's one right there, and that's the example I was just using. $30,000 that we put in their pocket, remember, going from $270 to $300, but that extra $30,000 comes at a cost of $18,000 if we're figuring off of a 6% commission. So if I give you $30,000 and I give you that $30,000 first and up front, would you then give me $18,000 of that $30,000 for giving you that $30,000? And that's ultimately what's going on the grander scale of things. If I could sell your house for $300,000 versus for $30,000 more than what you'd be able to sell it for on your own, would you want that? Would you be willing to pay me $18,000? If I got you an extra $30,000 and you get that $30,000 first, you don't have to pay me in advance. If I can't get you that extra $30,000, if I don't get you anything that's acceptable to you, you don't pay me anything. Now, I would recommend not doing this about the price and keep it down to the simple fundamentals of this math here. So maybe if I give you $30, would you give me $18? Or if we really break this down, if I give you $10, would you give me $6? If I gave you $10, would you turn around and give me $6? After I gave you $10, if I gave you $100, would you turn around and give me $60? And that's the whole way this math breaks down. Now, how do we come into agreement first to make them even want to listen to us about this exchange that we have, this exchange rate of the currency of our services, of our value we deliver, and how we're delivering value here, but our cost is only here? That looks like a deal. If your cost is here and the value is here, so cost is up here and value is down here, is that a deal? No. If it costs more than what it's worth, it's not a good deal. But when we increase our value, maybe our cost is still here, but our value is way up here. As long as our value is exceeding our cost, it's going to look like we're offering a deal, even if we're the most expensive real estate professional. You know, if we run through that same example that I just did, that same word track, if I gave you $10, would you turn around and give me $7? Well, yeah, I'm still making money. You might say, hey, if I give you $10, you turn around and give me that $10 for making your life easier. Because that's another value we deliver. By we make this process easier and simpler, and they're not on their own. They're not an island. Think of how much you might feel like an island and isolated when you first start your real estate career and you're trying to figure out what are the right things to do, what should I do, what should I not do. Imagine that for somebody who hasn't gone to real estate classes, who hasn't taken real estate exams, who hasn't done all the real estate training that you've done, and now imagine a homeowner. And they might feel pretty confident about things, but deep down, they don't understand what they're doing. They're a little bit afraid. They're a little bit skeptical about their abilities, and that's what we need to tap into. But in order us to tap into that inner emotion that they have about their fear of selling, we have to come to an agreement with them. So how do we agree about saving money? So, well, we ask the question, what made you want to sell your property for sale by owner versus listing it with a real estate professional? So this is what's going to tell us which one of these is it. Or maybe there's another item. Maybe there's another thing, another reason why they're selling it for sale by owner rather than hiring a real estate professional. But we've got to find out why. What is their why? What is their motivation? What is their main reason why they don't want to use us? Because when we find out what that reason is that they don't want to use us, if it's about saving money, if we could show them how we're the ones actually able to save them money, we could save them more money than they would save themselves. Because them selling it for sale by owner at $270,000 ultimately could be costing them $30,000. Now, what's tricky about all this here is the way we distill this information down, the way we condense this information down to ultimately deliver this without confusing them. Because if you just stuck this video on in front of a seller and say, hey, look, there's a 30-minute video here that's going to talk about how I contribute value and how you should think about this rather than just thinking that you're going to save money. No, they're not going to want to watch a 30-minute video. And even if you put that video in front of them, and obviously you wouldn't do this in the real world, but even if you did, they're not going to pay attention for that full 30 minutes because this whole thing isn't going to interest them. You might even be losing interest as we talk about this here. So we've got to distill this down to the least amount of information that has the biggest impact. That's how you become a great communicator. Because you talk too much, anybody could talk all day long, nonstop. What makes it difficult is distilling this information down into the least amount of information that delivers the biggest impact. And that's really the big difference between everything we do on these shows every week and what you actually get with our courses. When you actually get in our courses, this is refinement. We refine the information down to the least amount of information that delivers the biggest impact. But that's the same way you need to educate your clients, with the least amount of information that delivers the biggest impact. So we ask them that question. Hey, what's the reason why? What is it? Why didn't you hire a real estate professional? Why are you doing for sale by owner rather than hiring a real estate professional? It's a tough question to ask, but that tough question, when you get an answer, and don't let them just kind of dance around and not give you a straight answer, get an answer on this. Because without this answer, you don't know what plan of attack you need. You don't know which way you need to go. If you're just up there talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, you might be talking about all the wrong things, and there's just one little detail that if we can overcome that they're on board with us. But the more it is that we talk, the more we're going to confuse them, and the more we're going to probably talk ourselves out of a sale rather than actually getting a deal. So we ask them that question: why are you selling it for sale by owner? Why are you selling it on your own rather than using a real estate professional? And they say, yeah, we're just trying to save money. We're trying to get as much money out of this house as much as we can because we really want to upgrade and we need to pay for some moving expenses and our kids going to school and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, we also need to distill down the information they give us here to figure out what it is. Because they might say, oh, well, we want to net more money. That means they want to save money. That's all about that they want to save money. So, okay, we've identified, okay, that is what it is. And chances are, if they're saying that they want to save money or they want to net money or they can't afford a real estate agent or whatever it may be, not only is it they want to save money, but they also don't understand the value. So now, how do we move into this through agreement? Because these essentially are, we could call them objections, we could call them complaints, we could call them obstacles, we could call them roadblocks, you could call it whatever it is that you want, but this is what's standing in the way of you servicing this client, of you ultimately getting this deal and being able to get this property sold for them. But you can't do any of that until you've got it listed with yourself. And this is what's standing in your way of getting the property listed. So they say, okay, they want to save money. Hey, I completely understand. Wow, that's... Just practice that. Practice saying that out loud. I completely understand. I understand totally where you're coming from. I know saving money is important. But if I could show you how I'm able to put more money in your pocket, would you be interested? Wait, what? Yeah, if I'm able, I completely understand that you want to save money. So notice again how I do that agreement and how I repeat ultimately what it is that they say. Hey, yeah, no, I completely understand that you want to net the most amount of money. But what if I could show you how I could help you net even more money that you'd get on your own, and how my cost would be overcome by the cost of the property that we sell it for? Say, okay, well, I'm listening. And this now, you might even get them say that. Oh, yeah, I'm listening. I'm interested. Yes, that sounds great. So now we've got them open. We've opened them up. Imagine that you've got some sort of canned good. Can of beans, can of vegetables, some sort of can. How do you open that can? You open it with a can opener. You pull out the can opener, you use the right tool, and that can's going to open up. You take that same closed can and just bang it on the wall until it opens, and you'll probably eventually get it open, but you're probably not going to want what's inside because it's all beat up. But you use the right tool, and that right tool is agreement. You get them to agree with you, or really you agree with them, because you can't control what it is that they're thinking, doing, saying, or anything like that, or their past experience. You can't control that. But what you can control is yourself. Very easy, much easier than you're able to control anything else. You can control yourself. That's the thing you have the most control over. And that's how we're able to agree. And now notice again how I said that. Hey, I completely understand. I completely agree with you. It's really important that you save money, but. So now we've got them listening, because when they hear that we agree with them, they start listening. Their ears perk up and they say, oh, wow, this salesperson, just complimented me. They said my idea was good. That's what we are doing when we agree with them. When we agree, we're validating what it is that they're saying. That, hey, yeah, that's a valid concern. I mean, that word doesn't usually work that well because it doesn't sound like how we would normally speak, but we're validating them. And people want to be validated. People want to be accepted. People don't want to appear stupid or sound stupid or look stupid. They want to be accepted. And what we're doing by agreeing with them is we're accepting them. We're saying, yeah, that's I completely agree with you. I could totally understand why you haven't chosen an agent because I know that you guys want to put the most amount of money in your pocket, correct? Yes. But what if I told you, if I could show you how we could put more money in your pocket with my marketing skills, with my marketing abilities, with my negotiation skills, would you be interested? Oh, no, well, we just really can't afford it. Hey, I completely understand. Notice how we keep agreeing because we haven't got there yet. Hey, I completely understand. But look, let me ask you this. I've got $10 here. If I give you this $10, give it to you, no questions asked, would you turn around and give me 6 of those $10? Well, yeah. That's the one condition. I give you the $10, but you've got to give me 6 of those $10 after I give you the 10. So you walk away with 4. But that's $4 more than you have right now. Are you interested? You say, well, explain. Well, listen. According to the National Association of Realtors, and this is a study done year after year after year, on the low end, using a real estate professional, the right real estate professional that has the right marketing skills, that has the right negotiation skills, that knows how to get property sold, on the low end, typically gets at least 10% more than a for-sale by owner selling the property on their own, and as much as 30% more than a for-sale by owner selling the property on their own. Now, I see you've got the property advertised for $300,000. What would you do with an extra $12,000 in your pocket? Oh, wow, well, they had $12,000 extra. Hey, look, now, what I want to do is just sit down with you, go over the numbers, go over all the costs, everything it is that you could expect. And if you don't have to accept any deal that I bring you, but if you do, I'm putting more money in your pocket than you'd be able to get on your own. That's my promise to you. When can we meet? And you move into getting the appointment. Because ultimately, you got to understand also the reason why you're making these calls to the for sale by owner is to get an appointment. But you've got to overcome whatever that problem is. Look, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick with us. I'm John Christopher. You're watching State of Real Estate. What's required to become a Florida real estate broker? Well, a few things. Number one, you have to have at least 2 years experience as a sales associate or a broker. Now, this experience could actually even be earned outside of Florida. It just has to be 2 years within the last 5 years. So 2 years of experience to become a broker. You also need to take a pre-licensing course. The broker pre-licensing course is 72 hours. It's got a 100 question and, of course, exam. Once you pass that and file all your paperwork with the state to upgrade to a broker license, then you just need to pass your state exam. That's another 100 question exam. You need to get a 75% on that. You complete those items and you'll have a Florida real estate broker license where you can open your own office or just remain with your current broker as a broker associate. To find out more about upgrading your real estate license to broker, check out upgradeToBroker.com. That's upgradeToBroker.com. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christopher, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. And what we do every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, is we mastermind to grow your real estate business, to talk about the things you didn't learn in your pre-licensing class. And this show has been so successful that we've had so many people. I mean, we've got thousands of people subscribing to us on YouTube, on Facebook, through our email subscription, tuning into these shows every week. But these shows are really, I mean, there's such a limited amount of time that we could cover this information. And ultimately, like I said, when we get up here, we're kind of brainstorming. We're kind of going through all these different things and really kind of elaborating really deeply on them. But the whole point of this show is we actually have a new course that we're releasing soon, and it's on converting for sale by owners. It's on really everything you want to know about the for sale by owner, from making that initial call to ultimately closing the deal. And this is the first of many new sales training courses it is that we're going to be offering. It's not available yet, but if you want to get on the wait list for this course when it does come out, give us a call. The phone number is 813-333-2676. Again, that's 813-333-2676. But look, let's get back to the takeaways from today, because I guarantee you, if you take away one of these things we're going to talk about from today, it's going to make more money. It's going to put more money in your pocket. And we're never going to stop doing State of Real Estate. We're doing this every Friday until I die or until, whenever. But look, here's what you want to take away. You've got to figure out why they haven't listed. Why are they not a person that, because there are people out there. For sale by owners are decreasing and declining over time. Back in the 1980s, I think it was 1981 is the official year, 15% of home sales were for sale by owner. In 2018, only 7% of home sales were for sale by owner. So why is this declining? Why is it dropping off over the last about 30 years that the number of for sale by owners has decreased by half? Despite the increase in technology, despite the coming of age of Zillow and all these sites and forsalebyowner.com and all these ways in Craigslist that they could market the property. The number one reason why for sale by owners say when they're surveyed by, again, the Association of Realtors of why they're what they feel least confident about in selling the property on their own is being able to market the property. So that's a big skill that we could offer. Not just the MLS, but all the ways it is that we can market the property, drum up and build some hype about the property, and ultimately get the property sold. So there are people out there that will just raise their hand and say, hey, yeah, I want to use a realtor. I need to find a good realtor because I understand the value of a realtor. I understand that not only is that realtor going to save me money, but they'll also save me time. I understand that value. Even if I've had a bad experience with a realtor before, I just got to do a little bit more due diligence interviewing my realtors that I'm going to hire in the future. So there's tons of people out there. 93% of the sales are done by real estate professionals compared to the 7% done by for sale by owner. So not every person you talk to will even want to do it for sale by owner. But the people that do want to sell for sale by owner, that are considering for sale by owner, they have some obstacle in their mind. It's usually going to be about the money. It's usually about them, wanting to be the do-it-yourselfer. And this is where we've got to be sold on our service. If we're not sold on our service, if we're not confident in our abilities and our professionalism, we're not sold on ourselves, how are we going to sell our clients if we're not sold on ourselves? So you've got to be sold on yourself first and foremost. You take that one thing away, all these things we're talking about, you take them away again, they will put more money in your pocket. And that's across the board. If you're not sold on yourself, your clients are not going to get sold on you. So you've got to be confident in your abilities first and foremost. But again, ask that question. Ask that tough question. And don't just ask the question, but get an answer. Why are you selling your property for sale by owner? Why didn't you hire an agent? And not in a intimidating or aggressive way, but in a curious way. Hey, I'm just curious. Why are you selling the property for sale by owner? Why didn't you hire an agent? Now notice my tone, how different it was. I threw that little bit of curiousness in my tone. Almost the upward inflection at the end. Why are you selling it for sale by owner? And you maybe, even if you're talking over the phone, you use your hand gestures, you use your body to speak. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Ultimately, that's way more important than what you're saying, what words you're actually saying. It's how you're saying those words. Because if I could say, why are you selling for sale by owner? Why aren't you using an agent? I'm attacking them if I'm saying it that way. So you've got to have that curiosity. Hey, just curious, why are you selling the property for sale by owner? Why didn't you use an agent? Oh, we want to save more money. Hey, that's great. I completely understand. Say, ooh, wow, a real estate professional says I'm great, that they understand what I'm doing. Wow, this person's great. And it goes against basic human nature. That's why people get in arguments. That's why people get into wars, is over disagreement. You're not going to win a war with your leads. But you can negotiate a peace treaty. You don't want to start a war. You want to negotiate some peace. Hey, I completely understand where you're coming from. I totally understand how important it is to get the most amount of money in your pocket. I mean, this is the biggest sale of your lifetime, probably. Is that correct? Oh, yeah, we've never sold anything more expensive. Hey, yeah, I completely understand that. But look, I have a question for you. If I could show you how I could actually get more money in your pocket than you'd be able to get on your own, even after you pay a commission, would you be interested? How do they say no to that? They will. They could. They absolutely will and absolutely could. Say, oh, no, well, we really just want to try it on our own. Hey, I completely understand. Other than saving money, is there any other reason why you want to do it on your own? And what you're doing here is you're trying to find out, is there any other objection? Is there anything else that, other than just saving money? Maybe saving money is the most important, but that's also not the main reason. Maybe say, yeah, well, when we bought the house, we hired a real estate agent, and he was just really worthless, and he really wasn't worth anything, and then he ended up getting paid a huge commission, even though he basically did nothing and we did all the work. Wow, yeah, that's, unfortunately, I've met some of those agents out there that, are worthless, for lack of a better term. I'm not supposed to talk bad about other agents. I won't mention any names, but hey, I completely understand where you're coming from. Again, agreement. Agreement is what's going to ultimately get them to listen to you. Look, all I'm asking for is just 15 minutes of your time, just so I could show you how I could potentially get your home sold faster. And if you could replicate anything it is that I would do, go for it. I'm not even going to restrict you from doing that. But I know after you meet with me that you're going to see the value in what it is that I have to offer, and that you're not going to find a more dedicated and harder working real estate professional out there. Because now we're solving their other objection. Maybe the saving money was primarily, but maybe also because they had a bad experience before, and that's why they don't understand the value. The more you understand these, the more they go hand in hand. Now, they won't always have had a bad experience, but if they do have a bad experience, that's what's ultimately going to feed into these other two things here. So look, that's about all the time we've got for today. So thank you guys for tuning in. Look, this episode is going to be available on replay for forever. We've never taken down any of our State of Real Estate or Ask the Instructor, any of the videos it is that we do. If you haven't checked out our YouTube, go to tsre.us. So that's tsre.us/YouTube. That's got all of our videos, all of our State of Real Estate episodes, all of our daily videos. Make sure you're subscribed on there because we put out tons of great free content every single day that'll help you start a real estate career or really build a greater real estate business, how to take your real estate career to the next level. So check it out on there. Again, if you're interested in the more in-depth, more really everything of becoming a master for sale by owner specialist, call us up because, again, we're going to be releasing that course soon. Phone number is 813-333-2676. Just tell them you want to be on the wait list for the FSBO or for sale by owner course. We'll know what you're talking about. Again, that phone number is 813-333-2676. It's about all the time we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Check out our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, or if you don't even know where to begin, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. Give us a call. We're the Tampa School of Real Estate. You're watching State of Real Estate.